super excited to have Joe on the program. And Joe, as the whole title of Talent Trailblazer says, has been the talent acquisition and talent management in space for a very, very long time. Currently, is a vice president HR, the Banyan Treatment Center, and has spanned a couple of other industries also, which we will talk about as the show goes on. And Joe, let me start by asking you a question, which a lot of our listeners would be very interested to hear. You've spanned, the HR TA space across multiple industries, right? And now, of course, you've spent considerable time in the healthcare space. But if you were to look at the couple of industries that you have been working in, right, what would you say are one or two differences, right, when it comes to talent acquisition? Let's talk about recruiting, and then we'll come to talent management. In the healthcare space, which you are right now, versus some of the spaces that you were in earlier.
Right. Yeah, I'd say I've concluded the healthcare space is the most challenging for recruitment and staffing. And it's become really even super challenging in the last 2 to 3 years. And highly competitive for the same talent. Yeah, we're not even talking about top talent. Yeah, everybody over the many years, it's like, oh, we need to recruit for top talent. We need to compete for the top talent. Well, we just need, at this point, I think everybody's just needs the talent. We just need some willing souls and bodies to, show up for work. So, who have the credentials and have the knowledge and are willing to learn. But so healthcare is definitely the most challenging. I've been in software technology. That was a lot more fun. HR as a whole, in general, there's just a different culture that HR has an opportunity to feed. It's techie, so you're hiring for the most part, smart professional people who expect even to the Google companies, Google type perks. So you get to do a lot of the stuff that an HR guy would wish to do, brew Starbucks for free, have a lot of perks and niceties and really good benefits and all that. Where in healthcare, you don't, it's tougher. You'd have healthcare is, their revenue stream is really beyond your own control. You can't just increase sales or mark up, your prices. You have, reimbursement. It's based on being reimbursed by the revenue channels, and those are set, capped. You already wonder how you're going to make a profit within those reimbursement, agreements. So you just don't have the margins, to offer and that would position somebody like me who has to sustain a staff of 1,900 people in 17 treatment centers in 8 states, and open new ones every year and staff those, like that quickly. I'm more limited in healthcare in what magic I could come up with.
So it looks like there are two different challenges, Joe. One is the traction itself, right? How do you get talented? Right, as you're rightly saying, it's very, very challenging because I think the demand situation, there are a lot of demand for professionals that you are hiring, right? I'm assuming that they have more choices, right? And the other one, as you said, is on the compensation side, right? Because of the margins and so on, the flexibility may not be as much as probably the tech industry,
right?
So it's really, really difficult, right? To be in your seat right now. So, I mean, you moved, you were in healthcare, then you moved to tech, and then again you're back. So what's it which gets you here? Because, you really seem to have a very, very tough job, right? And that's an understatement. No, that's, I mean, I can use a couple of more adjectives, but
Right.
let me
Right.
just go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a number of industries. I started my HR career in healthcare, which was, not that I wasn't my target necessarily. I was just open to HR opportunities, and started working in hospice and home care, home health. Hospice is family home health care anyway, so that sort of combines. And then worked with Cleveland Clinic in Florida for a bit. Then went into the software technology for several years. I just had an opportunity there again. I would have preferred technology because it's it just seems it's sexier and whatever. So we think, and it's probably my favorite. Um, I just took another opportunity just for my own career growth in the construction industry, worked for a large, what we call a mechanical contractor. So I staffed, construction in plumbing and HVAC, by like 100-member construction sites, 10 or a dozen of them at a time. That was challenging, but still not quite as challenging as healthcare. Certainly had no glamour. It was very dusty and gritty. And then recession, economy, a lot of HR jobs got cut and chiseled. I've gone through those cycles in my 30-year HR career, more than once, where I'm, you're downsizing and doing stack reductions, and I'm hosting all that and doing reductions in force. And then I'm, phasing my own position law and just leaving it with the owners. And then back then, in the transition out of construction, I just took the opportunity in what would be retail, in home furnishings, lighting, and in brick and mortar store, and then online. So we were building online, shopping then. So that was interesting because it was a little more technology. Retail, unfortunately, wouldn't be my favorite either. It has really, really tiny, slim margins. So, you're in a culture that like, oh, we can't afford to do anything because, if we spend a little bit too much, the store loses money. So, and then, again, just another opportunity presented itself 5.5 years ago, and I find myself back in healthcare. A little different than like some traditional healthcare because we are in the mental health space. Banyan Treatment Centers is providing programs, offering programs for mental health clients and what we call substance use disorders. So basically drug addiction, treating drug addiction and alcoholism in detox residential settings and outpatient settings. So that was kind of new for me, very interesting, industry, if you call it an industry, those programs. So if it's just the opportunities that presented itself, I probably wouldn't have chosen to be back in healthcare, but it does work for me. It was a company, Banyan was a company that was about to grow, and which I've had in the past, like the software company was about to grow, launching a new product, and they needed somebody to drive, heavy recruiting and set up formal agile components so that stay in compliance for the first time. And we did that on my resume at Campus Management, the software company. And then Banyan, offered me that same opportunity to come in and build an HR team as the company was going to more than double and triple in size over the next 2 or 3 years when I first started. So opening new centers, at the same time acquiring existing centers, taking on 110 employees, once they sign the paper, or 300 employees, and then integrating into the systems, building new systems, and all of that. So that's my thing, to do all that and build an HR team, and then drive recruitment so that we could staff and hopefully at this point retain staff, which is ever challenging. It's at these items: staffing, acquiring staff and retaining staff are at an all-time, high as far as challenges in my
That's
30s.
now I can understand, the excitement of, why you came back. I think that pretty much is clear. I think the opportunity is great. But before I hand over to Jess, just one follow up on this. So if you compare over the last 15 years, I mean, as you said, you started your career in the healthcare space, and you've come back here, right? Like, what would be one or two main differences that you have been observing right now, as far as HR or talent acquisition is concerned,
Right.
in the industry?
Yeah. I had spent probably 20 years out of healthcare, having left healthcare before I came back here at Banyan. And much to I didn't expect it, so I was kind of surprised. It didn't really look that different.
Okay.
The compliance measures that that you need to keep just related to the HR file itself and the hiring process and the very comprehensive and deep criminal background and credentialing background and history that you have to do in healthcare that you don't necessarily have to do in other industries. Always had drug-free workplace, so, drug screenings has always been a part of it and stuff like that. Things that are called level 2 screening, where you have to tap into these government agency data banks for, other recorded licensed healthcare or healthcare credentialed people are in these registries if they have any misconduct reported. It may not be in their criminal record, but we have to really go deep in the background checking. So that is basically did not change from in the 1990s to the 2020s. I found it to be, for the most part, the same. And then the surveyors, the state regulators, and the National, Joint Commission for Healthcare Organizations were still there, just the same, and doing those surveys and hosting those. Really not much changed in all that time. Wow. So, the niche of mental health and, substance use disorder treatment was a little bit new specifics for me to learn. Like the rest of it was really the same. And then, staffing was much the same, medical doctors, psychiatrists, nurses, licensed and credentialed therapists, case managers, and then, all the other staff, tech staff. It's just not that different than like staffing a hospital.
Over to you, Jess.
Well, I'm thinking about some of the things you've talked about, Joe, and I guess for me, I would love your advice for CEOs and founders who maybe just a couple of years ago had 17 staff, and then their startup worked, and so now they've got 1,700 staff, and they're not coming from that type of background, let alone leading that kind of background.
Right.
And thinking about excellence in talent acquisition. When, this founder, they maybe become a founder because they were good at programming or because they were good at customer acquisition, sales, marketing, these kind of things. And now they're finding themselves kind of having to play catch up. But they're like, okay, what about recruiting at scale? What guidance would you give to someone maybe having some anxiety about that situation?
Right. Well, the owner of Banyan has a sole owner. And like I said, I joined the company at that juncture where they had all this on the menu to grow from a very small company to what it is now. And we will continue to grow, probably much larger even over the next 5 years. So, and he is not from this industry. He's not just he's an entrepreneur. That's his resume. His entrepreneurial projects that he sort of, from my view, just kind of fell into or some, stumbled upon and sparked an interest and then just began to research it out and then went into business. And this is probably his second primary one, but his third sort of venture that produced well for it. So, but this was the first one Banyan would become like as formal in a, running the company, where he like really had to, with having no formal training, to become a CEO and the president of this rather large enterprise, where typically a person with a master's degree in healthcare administration would be sitting in his office. Maybe not typically, because of how entrepreneurs are. So he saw the opportunities, and he hired, like it goes back to the old adage, hire the right people, for what you don't know. So he started hiring people, clinical people, healthcare clinical people, for the programming, to develop the right programs and to stay, compliant with what was required and not get into trouble. You don't want to accidentally do insurance fraud. You want to service people, take the insurance process, submit claims to insurance companies, and get paid. And, along the way, you need to know that you have the right staff managing those processes and the right technology systems that will do that, optimize, those channels, because that is your revenue stream, but yet not have somebody who is, doing something they're not supposed to do. You get into trouble. And he certainly does have, from the beginning, like, doesn't want to risk, his personal standing. Unlike a lot of other people who got into this, substance use, and didn't do it in that same way and are gone because they got into trouble. So anyway, where was I with that? So my advice would be to, I had the pleasure and the privilege really of experience exactly this coming to Banyan, because if I did have that conversation on his front lawn after a parade several years ago, where he was we were at this socializing at this event, and he was talking to this young gentleman, friend of his, and he was saying, I'm really perplexed. I have this small senior team of these initial, operations, we're going to get the program for him, and we've grown this much, but now we're going to open all these new centers and acquire these 2 new big ones. And they're telling, my senior team is telling me I need to hire an HR, somebody who knows everything about HR and recruitment. And I don't even know what that is or where to go. And they're having me interview, like doing the final interview on the last few candidates. And they all look okay to me. I mean, I just don't know. And this young gentleman said, oh, well, and I'm standing 20 feet away, talking to somebody else, and said, you need to talk to Joe Bozza about this, because he's like that HR guy, and he'll help you figure out who you should hire. So since I've been in this field, and I love to share the field, as HR people love to develop people and help people out and all that, we just kind of have a heart to serve. And I know this young gentleman who is the owner of Banyan, to some degree. And so he just asks, and I'm just helping him, giving him advice. This is what you would be looking for. Asking a little about the candidates that they did have to meet, and what I would suggest, that he would want to hire from within that person. And we had a 45-minute conversation. I gave him my advice, exactly just what what would I tell the entrepreneur who's at a very small company and about to grow. And he asked for my resume. So I didn't realize I'm sure he didn't realize it at the beginning of the conversation, but apparently 10 minutes in, he was conducting a job interview, and I was interviewed for the position of VP of HR at Banyan Treatment Centers. And so I thought, all right, I'll send him my resume. Something just intrigued me, that kind of in your soul, if you will. And and they were like moving quickly because they were at the last of their candidates. They actually, based on him meeting the last two, he didn't know which way to go, so they were just going to pick their favorite and make a job offer the next day. But he texted them and said, "Just hold off. I have a resume I'm going to give you, and and I want you guys to meet this guy." So I went in and met with a panel of his five senior team, and they hired me. So that, played out like exactly what I would advise that entrepreneur to do. Find the right, he already found those right people for the compliance, the building programs and compliance. He had a senior compliance director. He had a COO person, who was a, licensed clinical therapist, in a 30-year career like me, not the same career, but, many decades, 3 decades of career, at that point, probably 25 years, who could manage the growth of this and hire the right people and the clinical directors and nursing directors, etc., and build the right programs. And he had a revenue director for all the insurance and billing and all of that. And he had a financial, leader, and then he added the HR component. So when you hire me, you do get everything. You get somebody who has done everything in HR from a small to a large scale, from, recruit. It starts with recruiting and hiring people, onboarding them, establishing the personnel chart requirements, payroll, benefits, employee relations, performance, ongoing performance, dealing with issues, and then terminating. So we get the whole package.
Well,
and that's would be my advice, especially somebody, and the opportunities for me and anybody repeatedly have come when they're about to grow. And the one thing the entrepreneur is focusing on is, I'm going to have to hire a bunch of people, and that creates the HR opportunity. So interesting.
Yeah. No, there's so many good things in there. And it's funny how going into that question, I should have thought of the answer. Get somebody who's awesome at it to come be on your team and help you figure this out. Instead of thinking like, how's he going to teach him how to be an awesome talent acquisition HR person in a conversation? No, how are you going to find the right fit for it? But there's something you talked about of like this opportunity kind of tugging on your soul that I wanted to double down on. I think about, unfortunately in our family and extended family, we've had members dealing with addiction and the way it can ruin lives. And it's
me too.
So incredible.
Yes. Same here.
So incredible, the ones that can make it out of that, and the happiness they can go on to, and the happiness
and who are possibly still on their journey. Yes.
Yeah. And well, I mean, for our family, it's a lifelong journey.
Yes.
Right. And I think about my friends, like, I took the very traditional route to investment banking. I'm an art school dropout. Okay. Yeah. And going into art school was me being responsible instead of just trying to be a pro snowboarder. Okay. I thought, instead of being a pro snowboarder, I'll draw the pictures on snowboards, and I'll be a graphic designer.
Publish. Right.
And I have skateboard buddies that started messing with different drugs and alcohol and stuff, and it ruined their lives, and some made it back and some didn't.
Yes.
And I was really happy to see on your YouTube channel, you guys, profiling people like Brandon Novak and, the guy's a millionaire 3 times over by the age he's 23. He's on MTV shows with Dan Margera, and these guys discovered by Tony Hawk and reached the pinnacle of what me and my friends as teenagers thought was cool.
Yes.
And a credit to him that he's willing to talk publicly about struggling with heroin for 2 decades and this kind of stuff. But also, I think it's great that you guys profile that and show like, hey, being on top isn't enough. These kind of things create such unhappiness, but it's not a life sentence. Things can be done about it. So I wanted to talk, this is a very long intro to a question of, I would love your advice on leveraging mission for talent acquisition, and how you think about being a mission-driven organization. You're not just making a widget, you're genuinely improving people's lives and families, and how that shows up in your talent acquisition.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, I always shared, my sentiments, my life and career philosophy, especially with my team, my HR teams, because they have no choice but to listen to me, at least for increments of time anyway. They're more of a captive audience, but I always have said that, for me, I have to sell like I'm selling the company all day, every day to, every phone conversation. Because even if I'm doing other things in HR, I'm still always looking for the candidates, who might work for us in the front of my head, not even in the back of my mind, but in the front of my head. So, always having conversations every day with people, selling the company. Oh, you're a therapist. Oh, your brother's a therapist. Oh, your sister's a nurse. Your brother's a nurse. I mean, oh, you know what? Could have a job. So I have to really, like, it has to be in my heart. I've had jobs where HR jobs where, whatever is the company's about or what's happening. I'm recruiting and hiring people, interviewing people, and working with the hiring managers, and just like bringing people to I know is going to be to their doom, really, or their detriment in 6 months. And for only a short period of time, am I able to do that? Like, I just don't have it in me to just take the money and just do that and sell it again and again and again when I know it's, it's probably not even your best decision. So, I've just, gone on a job search and found my next gig and moved on. Would be my advice for people who are, feel like they're stuck in a spot and they're promoting a company and whatever the participation is that they just don't like. They don't like what they're about. They find it because, the company's not enjoying you being there either. Okay. So you should just free yourself, find something else and move on and try something new. So again, back to the point, I have to, have it in my heart, it has to click in my soul, what we're doing and, and building, hiring plumbers and HVAC people to build, a 10-story hospital wing. I could get behind that mission too, because they did it well. They took pride in the buildings. We had, gave people job opportunities, to better life. So, if the company again has a good culture and is positively working, at their industry and mission, I can be on board with it, regardless of the industry. I did retail, lighting, and home decor. Their tagline was, "We're making lives brighter for our customers and our employees." And, and they did crossover. It rang true. They wanted their HR guy to build a workforce and a culture that could ring true. That the owners were making lives brighter for a lot of people. And then at Banyan as well. So it's not just because, we're saving lives or, doesn't even have to be that sort of cause that's so, what would you call that? That's obviously charitable or, endearing. It could be selling chandeliers. It doesn't matter. But you need to be in a place where you can sell the company to people to compel them to join you. And so if there's issues there, and things that need to be changed, then give your best and, and make the changes.
Great. Gautam, what kind of ideas does this bring up for you?
Yeah, I know 2-3 ideas, but before I get into those, I just want to talk about something, Joe, which I saw in your profile, which I found extremely interesting, which was, your experience in, adopting and building HR and recruitment tools, right? I think there are a lot of software tools which you have implemented and used, right? as part of your
Right.
talent acquisition and HR experience, right? And being a tool builder myself at CBREX, it's always been interesting to hear from people as to how they have seen this market evolve. If you look at HR tech or recruit tech,
Right.
which is a subset, and you've seen it evolve over the last 2 decades, right? What are some of the things that you are seeing in the market today in 2023 as compared to what you were seeing earlier, or any other interesting trends that you're seeing in the HR tool or the recruitment, the HR tech, the recruitment tech market?
Yeah. For the HR, the HR software, HR technology, the, HRIS is the old term. It really, for the HR guy, it really starts with payroll. You need a very solid payroll system. And so the old payroll, the old ADP, I'm not trying to floor ADP, I'm not really a fan, but whatever. The ADP payroll, we just ran payroll, in the 50s and 60s. But then, when a company needed like robust everything HR in the technology, it broadened. So it starts with a solid payroll system, and then other companies, build software systems that became not only your payroll system, but then becomes the HR file and all of your HR components, and expand out to all sorts of things. And then you get to when you're managing talent acquisition, to have a resume tracking and or applicant tracking system, your ATS. So today in 2023, or really in the last 25 years since 2000, we'll say, me as an HR person would look for a system, again, starts with payroll and HR database, employee database, and that has all sorts of other, reporting abilities and stuff for you to support finance, because you have to feed all the numbers into finance, and it needs to have a good, robust applicant tracking system with it. So you don't, at this point, those used to be separate. You used to hear from, the ATS salespeople and buy my system. It didn't integrate with your HR and your payroll database. But today it needs to. You need one system that can provide you with a good ATS as well.
So if you look at it, and that's great. I mean, you're tracing the evolution from payroll and now to ATS. Right. So if you look at it, data storage systems were really how everything started, and administrative data storage system. Are you seeing any trends here on analytics or HR intelligence, even on the talent acquisition side, like how do you build talent pipelines? Very, very relevant for a company in your space, where you yourself said, it's very, very challenging attracting talent. So what about those areas? Are you seeing some developments there in the market where, you're coming across tools which are not purely administrative, but more efficiency based, like, really making the whole process more efficient? What's your...
I mean, that's difficult. It's difficult really to discuss that. It's a little, that area in, building a pipeline is an old historic, recruitment term. Staffing agencies build a pipeline. So they're the originals who built out ATS systems that house, that become a huge database of names and resumes and disciplines. So, that's basically, honestly, in my opinion, that's what a pipeline in reality amounts to, is that you've built a database, you've continued to collect those candidates and store them in the database where you can search for them and report on them. If you're looking for, a certain skill, certain credential, certain geographic location, a certain employer, where you can build, you need your ATS to to have that component as well. And that would help you build what you call a pipeline. I mean, for most of us, for us, as full-on HR people who are on the team, the leadership team, to help the owner run the company or help leaders run the company, building your pipeline is not the one thing you're working on. So you're doing so many other things, and you're doing a lot for existing employees too. So that's more your focus. So it's not realistic for me to feel like I always need like this current or recent pipeline. I mean, I think the days are over where I'm going to have, 5 therapists waiting in line for one of the positions at one of the centers to open up. I mean, in any position, those days are long over. So when I meet people to, sell me a product or a service or a technology today, to, and if it's really about if they've built this pipeline, or even if they build a pipeline, yeah, I mean, what's realistic? Sorry to be negative, but those are my thoughts.
And what about things like employer branding, right? I mean, there's a lot of tools today which are, here are some of the new areas in HR tech or recruit tech, right? Where people are saying that I'll help you build your brand, that'll get inbound talent, right? You'll have more people applying to you, or I will help you build an outreach program,
right?
Like sales outreach program. So what are you seeing there? Are you seeing some interesting trends there? In those areas in the HR tech space?
I mean, there's a lot out there. I don't really spend a lot of time shopping for all that. I typically focus on the nit and the grit. I have a staff, an HR staff, and I need to have enough people on my staff who can focus on the recruitment and recruit predominantly for all the positions directly. Not that we wouldn't, enlist services from outside sources to help us find some talent, but it needs to be the exception. So we do need to build our brand internally. But I mean, I think that is, building the brand is, I don't know, it's not that real. It needs to be real. So I'm not interested in having a company come and provide me with a service that's building this fake brand that I can blast out on social media. So maybe this isn't what you want to hear. However, I've always used the brand that the company's marketing is putting out there, the Making Lives Brighter brand. So and Banyan, whatever brand that Banyan's digital marketing and marketing team and business development people have created and built and developed and augmented, I will use that. And I probably, I don't see myself, purchasing a service to help me build the brand that I could market to candidates, something else.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, these are just some of the trends.
Jess is probably
very interesting to get your view on that. Yeah. Over to you, Jess.
You think I'm funny?
Well, Joe, no, I just like that you're a straight shooter. Like you're not into the fluff. You're like, yeah. Let's get right to the real thing here. Let's do stuff that works.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend we've got amazing perks.
Yeah. We've got a decent opportunity for you. You have the credential you need. Here it is.
But I think people
I'm not that.
I think people,
yeah,
but people appreciate honesty. Like, don't we all get sick of some founder CEO of like, we're making, we are making our change in the world. It's like, no, bro, you're selling a car insurance 5% cheaper. Like, I mean, it's great. Like, I'll take the discount, but like,
and that's a great mission. Like, it's a great mission. I could get behind it. But
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with giving me car insurance cheaper. I feel like car insurance is overpriced. Okay, but like like with books, there's a lot of people that want the noun without doing the verb. They want to have written a book. They don't actually want to write a book. Right? Well, there's a lot of people that espouse the brand they wish they had instead of like what you see is what you get. Like a little more honesty of like, we want you to help us come build something better or whatever. I know we're about out of time. Where are the best places for people to connect and find out more about Banyan, about you on the internet?
Okay. I mean, Banyan, you can just look up Banyan's website. They have developed a really, I think, a great, very easy to use website, to navigate website for all the information. So Banyan, Banyan Treatment Centers, just look up Banyan Treatment Centers on any, Google or Edge or whatever your browser allows it. Mostly work for that. On your phone, tablet, or computer, Banyan Treatment Centers. And there's, like you'd seen some of our podcasts and things that are digital marketing, social media efforts, broadcast. There's always a stream of campaigns and videos and things that promote and stories. There's a lot of great stories. And so that's where you'd connect. And there's a career page there, of course, to look at. Unfortunately, there's probably dozens of positions that we're advertising to try to compel candidates to apply. So please do. We're in 8 states. We most recently opened this treatment center in Wasilla, Alaska. And I am in South Florida, however, I'm not in Alaska. And I don't probably need to go there. I can meet with the employees. Video technology, thank you. As we did last week when we orientated them and onboarded them and trained them. It was great. And then me, would you like to connect with me? Well, you can look up Joe Bozza at Banyan on LinkedIn. I'm not like a huge social media guy, so I guess I'm kind of an old guy, so there at this point. And that's really it. And I mean, if I can give advice, or I welcome the people to ask questions and solicit my HR help in any way. So just message me with it.
Yeah, this has been great. My sister and mom are both nurses, but not in states where you are, so I can't.
Are you sure?
I'm not gonna be able to send them over.
Which state are they in?
Could they move? Right.
Which state are
they? They're in Western Canada, but
okay. Yeah, we haven't opened there yet.
A little closer to Alaska than Florida at this point.
Right.
But
right.
But this has been great. Thanks for making time for us.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.